All right, brothers and sisters, peace. I want to do a little quick little segment talking about a conversation that a lot of people are having when it comes to the prospect that goes by the name of Jerron Boots Ennis. And a lot of people are saying that Boots Ennis, don't nobody want to fight him. Everybody's scared of him. And we hear that narrative all the time. But when they make these statements, they're saying it in the breath of there's no one to fight Bruce Ennis. First of all, before I even say anything, Bruce Ennis is a phenomenal talent, a up and coming talent, but we need to stop painting the narrative that Bruce Ennis is being heavily ducked by individuals because Bruce Ennis is really a up and coming prospect. I would say that Bruce Ennis, I would say that Terrence Bud Crawford is being more ducked than anybody. You can see it because it's reports out, and a lot of this stuff is true. It's reports that he's supposed to have a 3 fight deal for $14 million. That is absurd. And the reason why PBC wants to give him $14 million is because they don't really have respect for no other fighters other than PBC fighters. That and they're really trying to lowball him. But that's neither here nor there, right? But the boxing community, and I'm not saying that certain fighters probably is ducking Bruce Ennis, but the reason why I'm saying this is because let's not paint the narrative that there's nobody out here that want to fight Bruce Ennis. If he's an up and coming prospect, it's a lot of different people that he can be matched up against. Bruce Ennis, out of 29 wins and 27 knockouts, he has never been in the ring with a top prospect that will that we can see how good he is. See, back in the day when a fighter want to go to the next level, they had to fight somebody that was, worthy for a person to go to the next level. But the way boxing is today, you have a lot of these guys because they have an outstanding record. They think that they supposed to just jump into a championship fight, and they have never been tested. Now, is it a strong possibility that he can just jump into a championship fight and beat the likes of Terrence Bud Crawford, Errol Spence? Of course. You know what I'm saying? We look at his abilities and stuff like that. It seems like he's the goods. But there's another flip side to the coin. All of the people that he has been fighting, it's not really on his level. And this is why that can be very tricky when you're dealing with somebody like Bruce Ennis, is because if he's put in there with an individual that can give him some smoke, then what's going to happen? It's a strong possibility that he can lose, right? But we have to see him fight against a top prospect because only thing that we're banking on is potential. Now, a lot of people criticize Virgil Ortiz when he fought against Maurice Hooker, when he fought against this last dude, McKinson, when he fought against Mean Machine. But see, I'm not going to criticize Virgil Ortiz. You know why? It's because he's willing to get into the fire. This is what a lot of people don't understand. And then a lot of times when you face a person that is kind of on the same level as you, that can be a threat to you, all that all that knockout, all that superb boxing, all of that stuff really goes out the window. It's because you can come into the ring and you may not have a spectacular performance. But even though Virgil Ortiz didn't have a spectacular performance against those guys, he still was able to get those guys out of there. He's 19-0 with 19 knockouts. He knocked out, well, it was a technical knockout because Maurice Hooker broke his hand, but he came off the canvas two times, and I think he was hurt once or two times, right, standing up against Mean Machine. And what happened? We saw him bite down on the mouthpiece and get in there and mix it up and knock out Mean Machine. And a lot of people try to discredit Mean Machine. Mean Machine went to war against um, Terrence Bud Crawford, TBC. So what we're looking at with Virgil Ortiz, we're looking at an individual that's willing to get in the ring with anybody, right? So just because he had a bad performance against them, see, he can always go back to the drawing board and work on his skills. Now, this is another fighter that um, he's about to be tested. Himself is Conor Ben. I may not like the matchup with him and Chris Eubanks, but Conor Ben is about to step into the fire. Chris Eubanks is a dangerous fighter. I may think that Chris Eubanks is still trying to find himself in terms of creating a boxing style that he's comfortable with. Because I don't believe that even though he came up with his dad, his dad is I believe his dad is a Hall of Famer, Chris Eubanks Senior. But you know, he Chris Eubanks, he hasn't really developed a style that he's comfortable with. And a lot of times you have to develop that as a youngster. So you could tell when he was over there in the UK that he never really developed a certain type of style. This is why a lot of boxing trainers, the old boxing trainers, this is why they're needed today. Like especially Emmanuel Stewart. Emmanuel Stewart was very instrumental in working on guys' fundamentals because one of the persons that he really worked with and he turned them into the next level fighter from the UK is who? Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis was a knockout artist and all this type of stuff, but he was not a very good boxer. So the old trainers back then, they're needed today is because a lot of these guys, they're struggling. You know what I'm saying? They're what you would call they're very good athletes, but a lot of them are not very good boxers. But let's look at some people that Jerron Bruce Ennis can actually fight so we can see how good he is. Why haven't they tried to make the fight with who is this? One of the persons is Rashidi Ellis. Even though Rashidi Ellis has some contractual issues with his promoter, I think at the time, De La Hoya, I think now he's with PBC. But now that he's with PBC, why are they not trying to push for that fight? Why is um, the team of Jerron Booth Ennis? Why they not trying to push for the fight against Stanley Onis? See, these are good fighters that we can see him fight to see out how good he is. See, because people like Keith Thurman and Keith Thurman is just trying to fight against Spence and Crawford. See, he's not really trying to fight against these guys. But if he had a nice promotional team that was behind him, they can put enough money behind that fight to make the fight with Keith Thurman. But I think that fight is not going to materialize. Is because I don't think that they have the backing to really, you know, put the money behind that type of fight. Because believe it or we may have issues with Keith because he had that long layoff, but Keith Thurman is still what you would call a superstar in the welterweight division. But it's just some fighters that we can see how good this individual is. Is he the future of boxing? That's what we want to see. See, because everybody had a rivalry. See, and another thing too that they could be trying to push for is the fight against Virgil Ortiz. See, we always hear Bruce Ennis talking about these individuals don't want to fight him, but he's not trying to make, or his team, they're not really trying to make these tough fights. So how do we know how good Bruce Ennis is, and he's not trying to make the big fights? See, the big fight that he's trying to make is between individuals. They're not even looking his way because they understand that it's a high risk, low reward. See, but why is the team of Bruce Ennis not trying to make the Conor? Why didn't they try to make the Conor Ben fight? Why didn't they try to make, like I say, the Stanionis fight? Right? It's a lot of people in upcoming prospects that these individuals that we can see how good they are. Let's look at some of these prospects or what their records are. See, they're not really showing them. But it's a lot of people in the welterweight division. At least a couple of them. I just named Stanionis and Rashidi Ellis. Well, Rashidi Ellis, he had like a year or two layoff. Who gives a damn? See, he's been sparring. He been in the ring with uh uh Demetrius Andrade. He been sparring against Demetrius Andrade. Uh, Canelo Alvarez. He's a professional. They need to make that fight happen because we have two undefeated prospects, and whoever is the goods, then they can go forward and fight against the likes of Terrence Bud Crawford or Errol Spence Jr. if they can make this fight materialize. Even if they don't make the fight, let's say the fight don't happen for whatever reason, then those two individuals, they can fight against each other, and the winner of that fight can get those type of fights. See, he can move up in weight. Look at Conor Ben. Conor Ben is a welterweight. He they can try to make the fight with Ugas. See, they Conor Ben is moving up and facing a super middleweight, even though Chris Eubank is finna move down in weight, but he's really a super middleweight or a middleweight. He's finna put himself through the fire. He can lose this fight. See, he could be in over his head, even though the UK they willing to pay that type of money because see, they support boxing. And it's a shame. Here it is over here in America. We got some of the top trainers. We got some of the top fighters, but the people that got the money, they don't even want to support it. And then another thing too, and the reason why we don't want to support these fighters, let's be honest, is because the conversation that I'm having right now. We don't want to support the fighters is because the fighters over here in America, they're not trying to fight each other. The last 3 or 4 years, we have been getting some good fights. But we're not getting fights like we should get. See, over there in UK, they support their fighters. These people are making millions of dollars over there. See, it's because they support their fighters. We don't support the fighters. It's because the fighters is too busy on fucking social media. See, they too busy on social media. They too busy on Instagram, all this type of nonsense, and they're not trying to make these fights. This man is 29 and 0 with 27 knockouts. We have yet to see him face a top quality opponent, a prospect, so we can see the product. If we're gonna buy his pay-per-view fights or we're gonna watch him on TV, we got to see what the body of work. See, we can't see that if he's not if there's if they're being strategic on putting him, they're saving him so that he can get in the ring with the likes of Terrence Bud Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. No, see, we need to see him fight against somebody that's a good quality opponent, same level as him, and they're a prospect. See? So we need to stop it with this nonsense talking about this. Everybody is scared of Bruce Ennis. See, that's farthest from the truth. So that's just my little take on Bruce Ennis. We need to see him in there with a quality opponent so we can assess for ourselves as the boxing community if he's ready to go to the next level. Peace.